and appropriations. I think that is under the lawfulness section. Page 9. 127 million was transferred from development to recurrent, contrary to section 152(2) of PFM. And we observed that you did not provide documents to the Auditor General. You did not provide evidence that you had tabled a bill in the County Assembly to seek reallocation, and therefore you are in breach of the law. Even though we had recommended that the auditor does a further review, what is your position on this? Because our view is that you violated the law grossly by doing unauthorized reallocations.
Let me ask the director to respond.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. This is to clarify that there are some donor-funded projects which are budgeted under development vote, which are recurrent in nature. And this expenditure is to facilitate the rollout of development projects from these donor-funded projects. For example, for training and capacity building, for example, it will fall under recurrent, but in the budget line, it is budgeted for in development. And since we process these payments in IFMIS, these economic items which we charge are in development votes.
Mr. Fernandez,
Yes.
you have, I think your explanation here is quite readable. The question is this. The law does not bar reallocation, but it provides a process for reallocation. So with this nice explanation that you have, what stops you or what stopped you from going to the County Assembly to explain that we capitalize this budget, but due to the nature of the grant, there are operational aspects, and therefore give us the authority to spend as
Thank
such?
you.
No, and
Honorable Chair.
even further, Chair, that is one mistake. The second, which is more grave, is that during the audit process now, at least you should have provided them the documentation to support the position
Yeah,
that
so-
you're prosecuting, to say, okay, we are sorry, that wasn't done, but this is the justification why we considered, because it's the exact basis why you're being fingered by the Auditor General.
Thank you, Honorable Chair.
And maybe to OAG, there is always Conditional Allocations Act. What is the fate of donor funded? I thought it is managed independently.
Yeah, so
How does it?
let Fernandez first deal, and then we come to OAG.
Honorable Chair, some of these donor-funded projects, we are required to open special purpose accounts with the central bank. For you to make payment from that account, which is in development, you have to charge that economic item in the budget. And therefore, we do not have, if we are to reallocate, it means then we appropriate in recurrent line item. But as I said earlier, mostly these are donor-funded projects.
But Chair,
And they are
isn't
in
it possible during the time of budgeting, you disaggregate the components in that donor-funded project in capital and recurrent? Isn't it possible? Or is it impossible to do that?
Honorable Chair, in the government, the Standard Charter of Accounts, we have the economic items, and for these donor-funded projects, there is a line item which is budgeted for under transfers, and that line item we're required to reflect in the appropriation as a standalone figure. If we are to disaggregate, for example, you have to bring in the training component to recurrent, and probably check the capital items to development. But when it comes to payment, it will pose a challenge because you have to pay from one special purpose
You
account.
see, as a practitioner, you see trees as we see the forest. Is it your argument that this scenario did not require an approval by the Assembly?
Honorable Chair, this is at the budgeting stage. These expenses are budgeted for in development vote. And during the budget implementation, we have to charge these line items in development vote.
Now, you see, I said you speak trees, we speak forest. The Auditor General is saying you reallocated 127 million from development to recurrent without approval. Yes. You have given us the number of trees in the forest. Now, what then is a conclusion? Do you disagree with the Auditor General that this 127 million did not warrant Assembly consideration? Let's start from there.
Honorable Chair, at the budget marking process, we...
No. Don't go too far back. Is it your view that the Auditor General or OAG's recommendation of seeking Assembly approval was not, should not apply here?
These are standalone line items, and we can prove, even in the appropriation, that this development, these funds were budgeted for in development. And this appropriation was passed at the point of the appropriation in the original estimates, and we also had a supplementary budget. And these items...
The budget was placed in development.
Yes.
The expenditure?
Honorable Chair, this is...
What was charged?
This is cash basis.
Yes.
In 2023-2024, we were reporting under cash basis. And having made payments, and we were reporting the actual expenditure, the actual payments that were made from these special purpose accounts, we had to report that under development, since the budget was in development mode.
So what are you saying? Because the Auditor General, is this explaining what you came across, or is explaining his own things?
Thank you, Chair. The explanation is giving is valid for donor funding. But the situation here we have is an expenditure which is not related to that donor funding. That's why we were saying it's an expenditure which has been reallocated. For example, using that vote to pay per diem for you coming to Senate. That's an example I've given. So it's not related to the donor funding. That's why we queried the expenditure.
In fact, you know why the auditor is helping the situation is if you had provided this documentation during audit process, it will be impossible to explain what you're trying to tell us, Fernandez. However, given that that wasn't done, it is impossible now to establish what was it exactly that you reallocated. And because there is no documentation provided up to this point, we cannot tell whether you paid per diem, you used it to pay salaries, whatever you did with it. Which is hence the question, why is it not possible to establish those documentation up to this point?
Yeah, and if it was to hold the explanation you're giving, then you should have demonstrated that this 127 million, this is how the budget was captured, whichever accounts that were used to appropriate, and this is how the expenditure was also applied. So where we are, the OAG says that your explanation is valid for a different case.
Which is not this one.
Which is not this one.
And the most worrying thing is that you are responding on behalf of the governor who is on oath. So where do you place the governor? Because these are not projects which are donor funded in nature. So,
Governor, these are the things that inflame the county assembly. When they hear that you spent without the approval. And it is your opportunity to absolve yourself, but you are not making it any better or any easier. Did you spend without approval of the county assembly?
From the records that we have, and that is what Director has indicated, is that basically this was donor money, and already it was budgeted in the budget under that item. And Chair, maybe if you give us some 1 week we